Halloween is a time for telling scary stories with the lights off, for braving haunted houses and coming up with the greatest costume concept ever created. But nothing says Halloween quite like trick-or-treating. Of course, when you're vegan, the treat often ends up being the trick, what with the multitude of potentially suspect ingredients in most Halloween candies. So, what's a vegan supposed to do to get their spook on? Let's find out. Ah! Hi, it's Emily from Bite Size Vegan, and welcome to another Vegan Nugget. This video is for kids and adults, whether vegan, vegan curious, or simply health conscious. For many new and prospective vegans, the greatest challenge isn't necessarily what to eat or not to eat, but how to navigate social situations and traditions like holiday celebrations. This is a question and concern that I get very often. The good news is you don't have to miss out on your favorite festivities and may even find new ways to celebrate. While being vegan does bring another level of awareness and consideration to all aspects of your life, which isn't a bad thing, it also opens up opportunities for creativity. So today I'm going to share with you some suggestions for making your trick-or-treating vegan friendly. And in my next video, I'll cover last-minute vegan costume ideas. There are several layers to the trick-or-treat discussion, and you can feel it out and decide what options and combinations of the tips that we'll be discussing work best for you. If you're a brand new vegan and really overwhelmed, you may just want to take the list of animal product-free candies and rock out your Halloween routine old school. Or you may choose to delve deeper or even try creating new traditions. In a moment, we'll talk about how to know what candy is vegan, but first, let's talk about the trick-or-treat action. If you want to go the traditional door-to-door route, what do you say or do when a bunch of non-vegan candy is shoveled into your or your child's bag? Well, there are many options, but I'll throw out a few key moves that I came up with. There's the sack and sort, the take and trade, the take and toss, the pass it on, the reverse treat, and the treat revolution. I'm pretty proud of those names. The sack and sort is perhaps the most basic. You take whatever candy you're given and then sort out the vegan from the non-vegan options when you get home. What you do with the non-vegan options is dealt with in the next few moves. The take and trade is for when you want to avoid GMOs, sugar, and generally unhealthy options that are still vegan by ingredients. If you're a parent, you can make this into a fun game of exchanges where your kids get X amount of alternative treats for Y amount of candy bars. Alternatives can be sweet, juicy fruits, melt-in-your-mouth gooey dates, vegan baked goods, and more. I'll have links to ideas on the blog post for this video. The take and toss is a way to take care of the non-vegan items, essentially by tossing them in the garbage. Now, some people will see this as a waste of food, while others don't consider candy as a food that can be wasted. If you're of the former camp, you'll like the pass it on option, where you pass on the non-vegan options to non-vegan friends, family, coworkers, or donate to shelters. Some people feel this is a way to reduce waste, while others might feel that it's not ethical to pass on unhealthy and non-vegan items. This is where the reverse treat and the treat revolution come into play. The reverse treat is just what it sounds like. You bring vegan treats with you, and instead of taking candy, you go door to door handing out delicious goodness. It will certainly surprise people and can be a great way of enjoying the fun of trick-or-treating in a whole new way. Of course, you want to be sure to keep enough of your vegan yummies at home to have your own celebration when you return. The final suggestion is the treat revolution. Similar to the reverse treat, you put on your costume and saddle up your treat sack full of vegan goodness, but instead of going door to door in your neighborhood, you go visit the needy in your area at local shelters and similar establishments. Of course, you'll want to call ahead to make sure this is okay. Another idea is to spend the day volunteering at a farm animal sanctuary, where all the treats that you'll need will be some hay, carrots, and apples. There are so many ways to celebrate Halloween outside of the now traditional candy-bound trick-or-treat, so feel free to improvise. But as I said in the beginning, if you want to stick to the basics, go for it and use any of the options that feels right. Now that we've covered the logistics, let's get down to the core candy concerns. The main elements that make candy non-vegan are dairy ingredients, gelatin, carmine, and confectioner's glaze. Dairy comes from cows at great expense to their health and the lives of their babies. Gelatin is derived from the bones, tendons, ligaments, hooves, and other reject parts of animals. Carmine is coloring from the crushed bodies of pregnant beetles, and confectioner's glaze or shellac comes from beetle secretions. Who knew that candy was really the scariest part of Halloween? Luckily, a lot of common candies don't contain this little horror show, including Skittles, Sour Patches, Jolly Ranchers, Jujubes, Mike and Ike's, Nerds, Twizzlers, Sweet Tarts, Dum Dums, Gobstoppers, Airheads, Swedish Fish, and more. You can check out this video's blog post for a full list, but bear in mind that companies may change their ingredients at any time, so it's always best to read the label first. Now here's where you can dig several layers deeper. Beyond the basic animal product ingredients exist several other elements to consider, namely sugar, cocoa, GMOs, and health. I'll cover them very briefly, but supply additional resources on the blog post if you want to pursue them further before making your decisions. It's safe to say that all mainstream candy, whether it contains animal products or not, does contain sugar, which at least in the United States is filtered through the charred bones of animals to remove its natural coloring. I have a whole video that goes into greater depth about sugar, which you can watch here. Another major factor to consider when it comes to the chocolatey goodness side of this holiday is cocoa. Chocolate in and of itself is vegan. However, 70% of the world's cocoa is sourced from Western African countries where child slave labor is a major issue. And finally, most, if not all, mainstream candies contain genetically modified organisms, commonly known as GMOs. And most definitely, all of them aren't the most ideal choice for your health. These are all elements you can take into consideration when making your candy selection, and I've included links to lists of GMO-free candies and fair trade chocolate approved by the Food Empowerment Project on the blog post as well. Of course, when it comes to handing out candy in your own home, you have complete control over what you pass on to others. You can stock up on vegan chocolates or even go healthy with things like dried fruits, pretzels, nuts, veggie chips, organic lollipops. That's how I say it. I don't know why. Justin's almond butter pouches, mandarin oranges, or even hand out non-food items. There are 1,000,001 ways to have a vegan Halloween, and regardless of which you choose, I hope you have a good one. I do hope that this was helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you're vegan, what do you do for Halloween? If you're not vegan, does the worry of how to handle such holidays stop you from making the switch? What fun ideas do you have for the holiday? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and share it around to help other vegan trick-or-treaters. If you're new here, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down there for more awesome vegan content every Monday, Wednesday, and some Fridays. If you want to help support Bite Size Vegan, check out either of the support links in the video description below, and for perks and rewards for your support, click on the Nugget Army icon there or the link in the sidebar. Now go live vegan, trick or treat, and I'll see you soon. Such a good pumpkin.